From the Pakistan side, wasn't a terrorist strike. It was an unprovoked attack by the Indians onto not terror infrastructure, not terrorist training camps, but just civilian areas. Here's the problem. The truth is going to be somewhere in between. Each side is going to promote itself as telling the honest truth here, and the other side is distorting things. And they're both saying literally the same things in reverse. And look, from American perspective, this is not something we're going to solve. It's critical to understand, and I certainly hope the administration does, that this is not something that we're going to solve. What we can do is, because we are allied and have friendship with both sides, it is definitely in our interest to try and get the two sides to resolve this. What I would hope that would happen, the one thing the U.S. could do is to say, listen, Pakistan, we can't tell you not to react when your country was struck and killed and many of your citizens killed. Same thing with India, because they did lose some of their, without question, and they lost a lot of their citizens that were murdered. So now then Pakistan has got it, and they're claiming, as you heard at the end of that clip, we will respond at a time of our choosing. Their prime minister and some of their other official statements, and he again repeated their very strong language at the first, we consider this an act of war. That implies that you're going to do something commensurate with what happens when an act of war is conducted on you, some kind of a big response. It would be in everybody's best interest that the United States at the very minimum would say, listen, just delay. Don't take action under emotions. Almost nothing good happens when you just take an emotionally feel-good moment and then do something right afterwards. Ask us and what we did after 9/11 and some of the actions that we took, which came back to haunt us many, many years later. And because things were taken with emotion, they weren't done soberly and with calculation designed to achieve a positive outcome and restore security and sanity without going so far that it caused, well, other wars, for example. We'll discuss that another time. But that is the situation that's facing Pakistan right now. They have had their people killed, and according to their version of it, they were all innocent. None of the people who were killed did anything wrong, and now that their sovereign territory was hit, and it was. But if we can delay any kind of an action for even a period of, say, a couple weeks, longer would be great. But then you have the chance for emotions to calm down, for inquiries to be done, for investigations to be conducted to find out what happened, and everybody's going to want some kind of justice for what happened to their side. India did, Pakistan does. And the question is going to be what next? Because you see the Pakistan side, or the Indian side rather, is trying to say, hey, we're done. This is a done deal. We took appropriate, measured action that was non-escalatory, because that's what you want it to be. You want it to be non-escalatory because you want it to be over. And certainly the Pakistan side is not quite on the same sheet of music as that. Because now the question is going to be whether Pakistan does delay for a while, they push it back, or whether they act in emotion in the near term. Either is possible. What's going to happen next? What will India do? Because likely the strike that Pakistan would do in response would be something probably commensurate and maybe even more than that to, quote, deter India from doing anything further. What would then the Indian government do? Seems unlikely that the 1.4 billion nation would take a hit commensurate with what they just inflicted there and then say, okay, fine, we're done now. You did to me, I did to you. All right, let's just move on. Then the risk comes that you get an escalation. And of course, with this situation here, this isn't even just like a Russia-Ukraine situation where one action leads to another, and then all of a sudden you got a conventional war. This time, both sides have nuclear weapons. And listen, you just got to look at the facts and the reality. When you have a nation of 1.2 billion people, and then this relatively small nation that doesn't have 1.4 billion, whatever the number is, a lot, they can't get into a conventional fight because they can't win it. The Indian side has all the resources, the manpower, and everything else. So the tendency and the risk that you would resort to nuclear weapons from the Pakistan side especially is too high. It is very high. And so hopefully that will temper any kind of reaction from the Indian side when this comes to pass afterwards, when Pakistan does whatever it is that they're going to do. Hopefully the United States is going to use as much diplomacy as it can with each side to point out these factors and just say, listen, Pakistan, I get it. Your national pride was hit with this. You have to defend yourself. I get it. But what you don't want to do is take action in retaliation that is so egregious that it fosters an equal and then escalatory act on the other side of response, because this could spin out of control really fast. So you can't get into a situation. What I would advise both sides to do, whether there's a retaliation or whether there's not, each side has to recognize that you have a little border skirmish here. There's a lot of history of that in the past. It's never escalated beyond. There's a lot of border clashes in this area, even between China and India, for example. They have had a number of them over the years, but they have been relatively smart in recognizing that you can't get too far. Obviously, India and China have had some border clashes before, and they're both nuclear powers, and they managed to navigate away from this. So let us hope that that is the case with India and Pakistan here as well, that they can both recognize the cost to going much further than where they are right now is higher than either side would want to pay. And you just dare not get into a situation to where you risk a nuclear event where somebody actually uses nuclear weapons, because then I'm telling you, then the world is a different place. We'll never come back to where we are right here.